Welcome back to the Green Beans Go channel. It's your host, me, and I am thrilled that NFL is at least somewhat back. We had our first preseason game on Thursday. NFL is my favorite sport to watch, to bet, to engage with, and I'm excited. There's no other way to put it. Let's talk about this video. We are going to make predictions for all 7 of these NFL awards for the 2024 NFL season: Offensive and Defensive Rookie of the Year, MVP, Offensive and Defensive Player of the Year, because there is a difference, Comeback Player of the Year, and Coach of the Year. Some warnings before we start. I realize some of you may be watching this video as just an NFL fan, someone who's not going to actually place money on these in the form of a bet. They just want to see, you just want to see what I have to offer and what I'm thinking. That's fine. If you are looking to actually put some money on these, my warnings are as follows. Do not rush to bet these. It is August the 3rd right now. I would wait till preseason is over to even consider putting money on these. These lines are not going to change drastically for the better, but they could ultimately get worse. We saw that Justin Herbert went down with a plantar fasciitis, Achilles something or other, this week in training camp. So just be careful. Injuries can happen. Injuries do happen, and that is always a risk. There are some things in here that I would actually not advise putting any money on. If you want to put a free bet on them, then go right ahead, be my guest. But as far as endorsing these for actual monetary value, I'm going to say that there are some that I cannot sit here in good conscience and do that. So much can happen, guys. This is the NFL. This is a long season. Injuries, trades, just there's so many variables. So this is mainly for fun. You've been warned. Last year, I called somewhat CJ Stroud's Rookie of the Year at plus 700. I had a free bet on it. That's all I put on it, and that's okay. I like Bryce Young and I like CJ Stroud last year as my 2 top picks, and we did see Stroud get it done. So there's my credibility. Let's get into it. This year's Offensive Rookie of the Year is much more drastic in terms of favorites. Caleb Williams comes out as the favorite. Then Marvin Harrison, Jaden Daniels, and Xavier Worthy are not far behind, and by that I mean they are pretty far behind. Looking at Caleb Williams' talent, okay, the talent he has around him, I should say, the Bears' talent. We have DeAndre Swift, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, and Rome Odunze. Cole Kmet, I don't know how he loses this. I do know how he loses this. He underperforms, he gets injured, but looking at the roster of the Bears, looking at the award and the fact that a quarterback has won it in 4 out of the last 10 years, looking at the quarterbacks who have won it, Stroud, Herbert, Murray, and Dak, all achieved Rookie of the Year with less raw talent around them, I feel pretty good about endorsing Caleb Williams as Rookie of the Year. I know it's not flashy. I know it's chalky. I know it's not exciting. But that is where I am led on August the 3rd. If I had to pick some outliers, some guys that I'm looking at, I do think Marvin Harrison Jr. should see a ton of action. Cardinals should be trailing in a lot of games. He should get a lot of looks. Obviously, would not be a bad spot. And if he wins, I wouldn't be too shocked. Xavier Worthy for the Chiefs have been begging for a wide receiver to come through for them. I mean, they have been relying on very pedestrian wide receivers in the previous 3 years, besides Tyreek Hill. Obviously, when Tyreek Hill got traded, it's been something they've kind of looked for. Obviously, Travis Kelce carries a huge load for this team. Maybe it's this rookie's time to step up and be what Rashee Rice and Sky Moore could not be. So at 16-1, it's worth a look. Everybody else doesn't really speak to me. Drake May and J.J. McCarthy may not even be the starters come September, so I'm not too thrilled on them. I don't think Jaden Daniels has enough talent around him. I don't think Washington wins enough games for him to compete. Same thing with Bo Nix, and I don't trust Daniel Jones for Malik Neighbors. So these would be my plays for Offensive Rookie of the Year. Now, Defensive Rookie of the Year is, and I want to go back to this, I want to say this right here. You can see this little face scale down here. This is my confidence level. So the greener the square around it, the more confident I am about it. Okay, Defensive Rookie of the Year, I'm less confident in than Offensive Rookie of the Year. And the only reason that I like Byron Murphy, not the only reason, here are 3 reasons I like Byron Murphy. People were calling this a steal at pick 16. They were shocked. NFL analysts and people who are in this industry were shocked that he made it all the way to the Seahawks at pick 16. The Rams actually called, this is a division rival, the Rams, called Seattle to try to trade up to get him at pick 16, but Seattle said, no, we are going to take him. And the Seahawks are now coached by Mike McDonald, who comes over from Baltimore. He was Baltimore's defensive coordinator. So this is a guy who is kind of known for his command of a defensive room, right? So you're giving a defensive-minded guy a talented, rookie who fell to them in the draft, should have gone earlier. His ceiling is pretty high. I think Seattle should be competitive, should be 8 to 10 wins this year, and so I think this is a really good spot for him. All right, that is why I like Byron Murphy as my top pick for this. If we want to talk about Chop Robinson, and sorry, this should be green. I forgot to change it. My apologies. Okay, Chop Robinson is a player that plays for or will play for the Dolphins. Bradley Chubb and Jalen Phillips are still injured for this defense, which means that analysts again, and the Dolphins are projecting that Chop Robinson starts the year and gets a lot of action in the beginning of the year. So what also plays into this is that the Dolphins, we can assume, are going to be leading a lot of games with Tua, Tyreek Hill, the dual threat at running back they have, right? So if the Dolphins come out, they lead early, and it forces the other team to pass, Chop Robinson should have a lot of opportunities for tackles for loss and for sacks. So this is also a pass-heavy division. If you think about Aaron Rodgers, Josh Allen, and whoever is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots, he should see a lot of opportunities when quarterbacks are dropping back to get to him. Again, super flyer. I'm not confident in it. I'm just saying this would be the angle that I would take if I was forced to take it. Let's talk about something a little more fun and one I'm really excited for. Most valuable player, MVP. 2012 was the last time a non-quarterback won MVP. That was Adrian Peterson, okay? 7 out of the last 10 MVP winners have been at the odds preseason right now of 10 to 1. So if we look at this historically, that rules out this whole, almost this top line, okay? So it's not a bad idea to reach a little bit for some of these flyers. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, and Aaron Rodgers have won the last 6. They've each won 2 in the last 6 years. And you see Patrick Mahomes is the favorite right now. Josh Allen, CJ Stroud, Joe Burrow, and the like. It's pretty much just a quarterback palooza. These are my 3 picks. My favorite pick on this list is Jared Goff. Joe Burrow would be up there as well, and Dak Prescott. Let's talk about each of these and reasons why I would back them. We'll start with Jared Goff. A loaded offense. And you may be saying, well, these receivers are mediocre. I would argue that the fact that they're all returning, the fact that Jameson Williams was so highly touted before he got into his whole gambling situation, controversy, suspension, and we saw him coming along at the end of the year, and I think this team opens up a little bit for him to really step in and be a huge threat at a wide receiver too. So I do like the ceiling that Jameson Williams has. They return all their skill. They do not have a new skill player. Obviously, Gibbs is not pictured in this because he's listed as running back 2, but you have to keep in mind that he is also in this offense. This team just is one of the only NFL teams that returns all players, and I think that does something tremendously for especially a quarterback and for a locker room and for just a team. So the last thing I will say about the Detroit Lions is that they only have 3 games that will not be played in a dome. Of their 17 games, 14 of them will be played inside. That is a quarterback's dream, okay? One of them is at Green Bay. Obviously, it's a division opponent. They have to play both home and away. One of them is at Chicago. These are not likely going to be warm, okay? Chicago, December 22nd. We can just chalk that off as a Jared Goff horrible game, whatever. I'm not worried about it. November 3rd, we may still get some 40-degree weather and be okay. And then they go to California December 3rd. So he should really only play 1.5 games in cold weather. And this is the NFC North we're talking about. So that is a huge advantage and something that I think will benefit Jared Goff greatly. They have the 21st out of 32nd strength of schedule, so not bad. Joe Burrow. Again, a pretty strong offense. We know that there were some kind of issues with T. Higgins and wanting to maybe get traded or paid or whatever. If you want me to give you a reason for backing Joe Burrow, it may just be the do factor. I think he's just been kind of hanging around for so long, but he needs to play all 17 games, and that is something we have not seen from Joe Burrow in years past. He has this tendency to get injured, and so if he gets injured, he's not winning MVP. I also think that the Bengals have to win the AFC North for him to win this award. If the Ravens win the AFC North, I don't think Joe Burrow gets the MVP, okay? But they do have a pretty easy schedule, 6th on the strength of schedule list. Okay, 6th easiest. So that is something that is also in his favor. Lastly is Dak Prescott, another player whose team stays mostly the same. We see Tony Pollard get traded to the Titans or sign with the Titans as a free agent. He was getting phased out anyway. Ezekiel Elliott comes back from the Patriots. They have CeeDee Lamb. They have Brandon Cooks, Jake Ferguson, Jalen Tolbert. Don't quote me on this. I believe he was there last year and didn't do much in the way of playing. But again, he may even be a rookie. I don't know. Okay. The point is, I think it's time that we let Dak cook. I know that is a Russell Wilson sort of what do you call that motto? But I think it's time, right? This is an offense who has seen a running back dominate the game plan for X number of years, right? Since Ezekiel Elliott came into the league. And I think it's time we finally see Dak Prescott take over, all right? I think this is a now or never situation for Dak Prescott. If Dak Prescott does not win the MVP this year, I don't know if he wins the MVP in his career. All right, maybe a little harsh. I'll go on a limb and I'll say that. So these would be my top 3 picks. I think Jared Goff is my favorite, and I actually think Dak Prescott is my second favorite. I think both of those have just easier schedules, easier systems, easier setups, and Joe Burrow has more against him with his division, playing outside, kind of question marks, getting a new running back. There's more question marks here for Joe Burrow. So these would be my picks. I've already put a free bet on Jared Goff at 25-1, a $10 free bet to win $250, right? So guys, I'm not unloading my bank account on this in any fashion, but I do think there's value here at 25-1. Offensive Player of the Year is the biggest crapshoot, sorry to scream, in NFL awards. I mean, your guess is as good as mine. If we look at the position that won the award since 2009, this is what it is. We have 4 quarterbacks, 2 wide receivers, and 6 running backs. So running backs have dominated the last 12 years, quarterbacks and wide receivers. I'm picking, again, Tyreek Hill on the principle that he is due. This is a guy who gets so much action. I think he is the most dynamic player in the NFL. If you put Tyreek Hill on any team, he improves that team more than any other player, all other things equal. I firmly believe that. People are going to say, well, Patrick Mahomes. I believe Tyreek Hill helped Patrick Mahomes become who he was and not the other way around. Okay, so Tyreek Hill at 8-1 would be my pick. Again, I'm not confident in it because this list is so vast and it's so chaotic. CeeDee Lamb, if we assume what I said about Dak Prescott is true, somebody has to be the beneficiary of Dak Prescott's MVP run. Why wouldn't it be CeeDee Lamb at 10-1? It's an option. The same thing holds true for Amon-Ra St. Brown with Jared Goff. Josh Allen is sneaky because I think the Bills are going to struggle this year. They've had a lot of turnover on their offense. People are kind of doubting them in a way, and I can see the Bills kind of snagging a wild card at the last few weeks of the season. So he doesn't necessarily get into the MVP conversation, but his numbers that he puts up are so crazy because they're playing from behind and they're fighting so hard in all these games that maybe he sees an opportunity to win Offensive Player of the Year. Last person I'll comment on is Justin Herbert, but I did say at the beginning of this video he was injured in training camp or in practice. So just keep your eye on this. I think this is a guy who should benefit from Harbaugh coming back to coach, but we see his wide receiver room is embarrassing. They lose Mike Williams, they lose Keenan Allen, and last year when both of those guys went down with injuries, there's no other way to say it except it was pitiful. It was a struggle. So he is very much on the outside looking in as far as me actually pulling the trigger on Justin Herbert. Defensive Player of the Year, as you can see, my confidence is not very high. It is the least confident I am in any of the picks on here, again, because it's so random. Nick Bosa has already won this award, but I think he could very easily win it again. Max Crosby has not won this award, but a guy who is pretty popular in the league and does a lot for his team. And Aiden Hutchinson, if we assume that Jared Goff is dominating and we assume that the Lions are winning a lot of games, then the same thing I said about Chop Robinson earlier, that puts Aiden Hutchinson in a position to get some sacks, to get some forced fumbles, to really cause some chaos for the opposing team. He would be my pick at 16-1, but I absolutely hate it. Comeback Player of the Year. I feel good about this. This and Caleb Williams are my most confident picks, and that would make sense because they also have the lowest odds. I think it's Aaron Rodgers to lose. I've talked about Joe Burrow, and I get that you may say, well, why do you think Joe Burrow has a chance to win MVP but not Comeback Player of the Year? I don't know how to exactly explain that, but I just think if Aaron Rodgers and Joe Burrow have identical seasons Aaron Rodgers is going to win this award. I think if Aaron Rodgers puts up a moderate season, he's going to win this award. There are politics involved in awards like this because people are voting for it with personal biases. And I just think that Joe Burrow's injury last year, I just feel so good about Aaron Rodgers winning this award. Kirk Cousins, I think, is going to struggle in this new offense, and I'm not convinced that his Achilles is going to be healed in the same way that Aaron Rodgers' Achilles was healed. Anthony Richardson, I think, is a very interesting pick and one that is what I would call a sleeper. Obviously, his biggest downfall is Jonathan Taylor, which is not his downfall, but Jonathan Taylor taking a lot of the action on the offense does hurt a guy like Anthony Richardson because the focus of the offense is not on him. So that is something you have to watch out for. But if we look at last year's winner, it's Joe Flacco. What happens with Joe Flacco? After he plays for the Browns, he leaves for the Colts. He is now the Colts backup. So you're giving me last year's comeback player of the year as a mentor, a veteran, a successful NFL QB to mentor Anthony Richardson. I'm not saying that that's like a lock. I'm not saying that, but it's interesting. It's definitely got my attention. Justin Herbert, again, if we talk about the volume that I think he should have in these games, it's an interesting proposition. And Sam Darnold is just someone I think we have to consider because I do think there's weapons around him. He can succeed. If he can hold off J.J. McCarthy, who could be the starter on this team, I think, again, there is this mental warfare with the voters. Like, man, Sam Darnold comes in with a first-round quarterback. I believe J.J. McCarthy went in the first round. Quarterback breathing down his neck. He holds him off, and he leads the Vikings to a wild card game, right? Something like that. So that division is tough. Packers are in there, and Lions are in there, both. Everybody and the Bears are in there, right? All three potential playoff teams. So I don't love it, and that's why it's at 60-1. I do think Aaron Rodgers has this, if he plays the whole season and plays well, and the Jets win the AFC North, I think it's his easily, okay? Last award we'll talk about is Coach of the Year. I went ahead and labeled all of these. Kind of convenient that, my four favorite picks are down the middle. Matt Eberflus coaching for the Bears. Again, I think if they win 12 games, he could very well take this award. If we look at the previous winners, all of them have had winning records, but nothing that really blows it out of the water. Harbaugh, obviously, 14-2 is a tremendous NFL schedule or NFL record, but everybody else is, or we're talking, wild card or wins their division, but maybe not convincingly. Okay. My favorite pick would be DeMeco Ryans. I think the Texans have, put themselves in a position on both sides of the ball in a weak-ish division to really make something happen. CJ Stroud wins Rookie of the Year. They pull in Stephon Diggs. They pull in Joe Mixon. If he still has some left in the tank, I just think that this team can win 12 games and he can win this award. That would be my absolute favorite pick of all. Dave Canales is also interesting, but again, thinking about the Panthers having a winning record is something I can't quite get over. I think they're projected right now 6 wins. So if the Panthers have a winning record, then maybe Dave Canales is a shoo-in because I do think he and Bryce Young are going to work well together. I think he's going to put Bryce Young in a position to win a lot of games. Rumors from training camp and the like are that their defense is really progressing nicely and giving the offense problems, which I don't know is more about their defense being good or their offense being pathetic. We'll see. Jonathan Brooks is hurt, so I don't know if he's going to play a ton in the preseason. I don't know if he's going to be ready to go at running back. A lot of questions there, so maybe not the best option. If I knew the Panthers were going to win 10 games, I'd say look at Dave Canales. I just don't have the confidence to say that. Finally, Mike Macdonald would be probably my second or third pick on this list. And I think he inherits a pretty good team, a pretty good culture, a team that loved Pete Carroll, I think, but is okay with seeing him leave and having this new youth and exuberance come in Mike Macdonald, a guy who can kind of control the narrative with a strong defense. I don't think Seattle got worse on offense. In fact, I don't think they lost anyone. They just gained Sam Howell from Washington. And I think he may push Geno for the starting job by, week 4, week 8. All right. So these would be my picks. I like DeMeco Ryans most of all. Look at a summary. And this will help you break it down if you are interested in actually betting on this. If it's more in this green area, I'm fine if you want to put some actual hard-earned dollars on it. I'm not saying I'm going to. In fact, I probably won't, just because the risk is so wild with injuries. If you kind of see these colors in the middle here, that's where I would say, hey, fire with a free bet. There's some potential here. And the more red it gets, the more I'm just like, I made it for the sake of this video. I don't really love it. So Caleb Williams, I'm okay if you want to put a little hard-earned money on that. Byron Murphy, throw a free bet on that if you want. Seattle defender here. Jared Goff, I have personally already bet. It's the only wager on this list that I've officially bet, and I bet it probably a week and a half ago to 2 weeks ago. So that would be something where a free bet doesn't hurt you. You probably weren't going to miss it anyway, and you could turn up in next February with 250 extra bucks. Tyreek Hill, again, it's such a wide margin of players for Offensive Player of the Year that I don't have confidence saying that. I think he's positioned really well to win that award, but there's so many other threats. Aiden Hutchinson's probably my most least confident pick on this. Aaron Rodgers, I feel pretty good about Comeback Player of the Year, and D'Amico Ryans Coach of the Year would be worth a free bet. If you want to get absolutely wild, and I'm not endorsing this, I'm just saying it is an option, you can parlay 2 different picks on FanDuel. You could parlay Caleb Williams and Aaron Rodgers together to both win these awards. I'm not saying that's smart. I'm not saying to do that. I'm just saying on FanDuel for sure, I know it is an option. So that's what we got. Look out for more NFL content from me. I know this video is kind of long. I tried to be as thorough as possible because if you are putting actual money on this, I want you to realize that I have thought about this a little bit, and that's why I'm comfortable endorsing these plays. More NFL content, like I said, will be on the way. It's my favorite thing to talk about. It's my favorite sport to watch. It is it's just my thing. It's just my thing, guys. Plain and simple. All right. So hopefully we're over the dog days of summer with MLB and Olympics and all this other stuff that I have to entertain myself with. NFL's coming. Let's go. Let's lock in. Let's go Jared Goff, baby. Go Lions. I hate the Lions. Go Seahawks, but go Jared Goff.